the about the stabilization beds at 2287 University Avenue. The committee was able to express their concerns. We want to acknowledge that we did receive a letter from Fordham Hill Oval Cooperatives in regards to some of those concerns that and which has been included to the elected officials in the area. And from my understanding, DHS, the elected officials, and the concerned group will be having a separate meeting, which the district manager will be attending to address a lot of those concerns. Myrna, is there anything else you would like to add?
Just that Fordham Hill was able to meet with our new council member, and she's going to address some of the concerns. I think one of the concerns that came up was that, and maybe we need to look into that too as a committee. Why was it switched from a family shelter to a single person shelter? Were they violations, et cetera, that happened that made it not safe for families? And now we've put adults in there and it still may not be safe. Since this came up, I've had the opportunity to look up a lot of the complaints with the organization that's running the shelter, Acacia, and it hasn't been good, I have to say. I mean, there was a situation where 2 children actually died in one of the shelters. They were put next to a heater, a water heater or something, and then exploded, and the children died. So they don't have a good track record. So one of the things that we would like the committee to do, and I think as a committee member, do they have all the permits to operate this facility correctly? And what were the violations against this facility that made them, if there were any? I'm not assuming, but we need to know, were there violations that made them have to switch from family to single person? So,
yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, that is a good question. Okay, so we'll continue the follow-up after the meeting that you will have with DHS and that everyone will have, and we'll update everybody on the committee afterwards.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda, the open restaurant tax amendment has passed at the city council. It's my understanding that it was approved with a vote of 43-6 and 1 abstention. So that is going to be coming back to the community board in the near future. Just one thing that there was a amendment made to the text amendment, which requires DOT to establish the program for the open restaurants before the text amendment is fully approved. So those rules and regulations will have to be in place before the amendment, which, if we all recall, it was basically to let restaurants and sidewalk cafes exist in every neighborhood of the city. Any questions about that or concerns?
Excuse me, Chair. I don't have any questions, but do we need to do an approval of the minutes from February or?
Oh, yes. I was gonna go and do it at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, we can do that.
No, just didn't want to.
Before we move on, you're right.
I'll offer a motion to approve the minutes from the February 2022 minutes as presented.
I second it.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Everyone in agreement?
Yes.
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 Great, thank you. Okay, so the representative G from City Planning couldn't be here today, but there was also been emails back and forth about a new tool that is called the Equitable Development Tool that City Planning has been working with HPD and other agencies to kind of gather information about the city in terms of the census, in terms of like population and other criteria that is going to be used in the future to be submitted with any ULURP project. So whoever is the developer will have to kind of create this report using this tool, and they will submit it along with any ULURP application in order to make the public more informed, keep the public more informed, community boards more informed, and every agency will have access to this tool. We hope to be getting more information, and this is supposed to launch on April 1st. Once that comes alive, we'll be able to talk about it more in detail next month, hopefully. Ted, you want to say anything about that?
No, I mean, only that it's coming up, and that we've had a little amount of briefing on it. And again, it's as you're saying, Eric, it'll provide on a comparative basis a lot of data about demographics, health, and racial and ethnic compositions. And so this way, it won't be, a threshold thing in terms of deciding, but it'll be more information that communities will have access to in terms of understanding impact of projects and things. I mean, we're getting to learn more about it ourselves.
Yeah, so once it go live, we'll be able to understanding a little bit more, because from my understanding, right now, city planning is just kind of gathering information to see what other information should be included in that website.
Right. And it'll be comparative data, so you can compare neighborhoods to other neighborhoods.
Yes. Okay. Serena, you have I think you had a comment about the open text, maybe? Sergio?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you called me.
Sorry.
My question had to do with the cafes, with traffic. All right. My major concern is the efficiency of DOT doing. The Department of Traffic does not have a fantastic track record of keeping up with things, especially with community complaints. Now, for instance, the cafe that's outside on Webster Avenue near Bedford Park has already got cracked windows and it has garbage all around it. So who's gonna be in charge of maintaining these things? Because that thing looks like it's been abandoned, and it's just dangerous because now the windows are cracked. And it's just there in the street, taking up space. And this is what's going to happen with a lot of these businesses. They built these things and they're just left there to their own devices. There's nobody in them, nobody eating in them. And they're taking up space. It's the same thing like with the one down on the corner of 204th and Webster Avenue. The bus stop is there. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't cross. People can't walk by because the tree pit is there, and the whole sidewalk is taken up by the walls of that cafeteria. So I want to know who's going to be enforcing these rules and regulation, who's going to be out there. Because at least when the NYPD is in charge, they're in the neighborhood. They are stationed in the neighborhood. They're there 24/7 to come out and inquire. DOT is going to be from 14 to 30 days to show they're up to come to the situation. Now, I had written a letter about the vendors taking over the streets of New York. Those streets belong to the people, all right? They're not paying for the sidewalks to put displays on or to build these apparatuses. So I want to know what's going to happen with the community, because it's only going to get worse before it gets better. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so
Against
all those items, that's a great point, Cyril, and we're gonna be talking about that when the regulations come out in the fall and DOT comes to present to the board. We'll make sure to let everyone know that that's happening.
Did you say in the fall?
Yes, in the fall is when they anticipate having that.
September, October, November. So that means now this community has to sit here and look at that broken window situation there, and who's going to take care of it now?
As of now, as per the text amendment, the existing cafes can stay as they are until the new regulations come up in the fall. Barbara?
Eric, I just wanted to address something he brought up about the illegal vendors. I know we're all part of a thread that he shared. There are obviously several agencies that handles these things. If I can get an email with the exact location, and if this vendor is actually an impediment to the sidewalk, we can send over the Department of Consumer Worker Protections. And what they typically do without finding them immediately is asking them if they are a registered vendor, ways that they can help them. I know that there's also a task force within the 52nd precinct that is cracking down on illegal vendoring, specifically on Fordham right now. So definitely we're thankful for the 5-2 on that. But there are some protections for the illegal vendors, and they're done through the Department of Workers Protection. So if you find one in the street that you feel is an impediment to a business, a sidewalk, and I can be helpful, by all means, send me specifics. But I wanted to make sure that that was acknowledged, because we did receive your email, Cyril, and I believe I responded.
I try to give exact locations in the email with the pictures. Some of them are on the corners of areas like the Bank of America went out of business there, and I don't know the numbers on it, but the building, but it's Perry Avenue and 204th Street. There's only one locations in the city, and it's a huge truck. That white truck shouldn't be there. It has no licenses. It never moves. And he took over the bike rack too. Okay, that bike rack belongs to bikers, not to a flower store that's there. Okay, he's not paying rent. He's not paying taxes, and it's not fair. It's not fair. I pay property tax, and I cannot go out in front of my house and start building any goddamn thing I feel like. It's not fair.
Okay, Barbara?
I just want to follow up on something that Cyril mentioned, and that's the structure he saw on Webster, just north of Bedford Park Boulevard in front of the bar. I don't think the bar is opened anymore, because late Saturday afternoon, they were seen cleaning things out, putting them in a car and putting the gate down. And usually in the past, they were open a lot earlier than that during the week, and of course on weekends. So my question is, if they're no longer there, they left the structure out in the street, which is taking up much needed parking spots. Whose responsibility is it to remove that structure? Is there a city agency, or must somebody get in touch with the owner of the property?
Barbara, is that the Jolly Tinker Bar?
No, just north of the Jolly Tinker.
Okay, okay. Is that Maneglia's property?
No, it's the other gentleman, I think, on the concourse, the lower concourse.
Okay.
So.
What happened? Did you send that to me? Is that part of the email?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't part of the email. This is something I saw today. But as you see, once these businesses with the city bent over backwards to help these vendors, these store owners, they abandoned the store, they went out of business, and now the community is stuck with an apparatus that takes over 2 parking spaces. That's never going to be removed, and they should have had some kind of regulations that before they go, they take it with them. Now,
Right.
we as a community is stuck with it.
And it's got more than a little garbage in it from the wind and whatever, and nobody's cleaning it.
We
Wait,
can
so
talk,
if someone could send me an email with that, but there is an
I'll
agenda
do
right
that
now,
tomorrow,
and
Aisha. I'll do that
Okay.
tomorrow.
yeah,
I just
mean,
want to
thank
go
you.
back to the chairperson. He does have an agenda, so.
we
Okay,
can talk to
thank you.
DOT about this issue. We can talk to DOT about this issue, but like I said, as of not right now, because this was an emergency program, restaurants are still allowed to follow those guidelines, but we will talk to DOT about it. Jahaira, you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question as to the design. Is there, part of the amendment, is there gonna be like a specific design and a specific size that these restaurants outside are gonna have to adhere to with the new law?
I don't know about the design, but yes, they will have restrictions on size. As per the presentation we had in about the text amendment.
Thank you.
And Myrna, one last thing about this open text amendment.
No, we're talking about illegal businesses. We need to address the illegal car washes. I mean, it's really something that goes across committees, which is why
Yeah,
joining committees is so important. They're hurting the environment. They're hurting legal businesses. They're causing traffic problems, and they're illegal. Exactly.
So
I
fun
see what you're
fact,
saying.
they're actually not illegal, and I hate to even say this, there actually is no law restricting them from doing that. And that's something that I believe Department of Workers, I'm sorry, because it changed its name, is looking into because of water issues, because of environmental issues. But just for clarification, this was brought up last year, Eric, I recall, and it was expressed to us that they're not actually illegal because they're not illegal because there isn't a law against it, right? Just I know that they're working on language for them on how they use the water, but it was brought up, I think, by Betty, if I'm not mistaken, around the expense of water and homeowners and how they're just opening the hydrant. So this was something that was brought up, but
Yeah,
just for point of clarification, yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember.
but when I
Betty-
go ahead, I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, I was saying that I was agreeing that yes, Betty had discussed this in her committee as
Yeah,
well.
but when we call the police, they move them. So it has the police would not be able to move them if they were not doing something illegal, and they are in violation of the EPA laws. I mean, the EPA has very strict standards, and they're dumping oil, soap, all kinds of things. The thing that the legal car washes, the people that have these businesses, they do this for a living, where they hire people and pay taxes, they have to follow very strict EPA guidelines, and they have no guidelines. And something has to be done.
So I've gotten some moved because they're leaving garbage behind, and they're just repeat folks, right, that are in the same corner doing the same things. And I've had a lot of property owners call me, and I've gotten some folks moved, and all they do is go to the next block. But the reason why they're moved is because of the way they're disposing of the garbage. They're blocking up potential parking. They're using the hydrant. That's the reasons why they're being moved. We can obviously invite the Department of Workers Protection to kind of, and DEP to have more of a dialogue on this, because I don't want to, again, I'm going to defer back to the chair on the agenda items. But I was told, I believe a few months ago, right? I think when Betty brought it up that this was not illegal. And those are the reasons why they're being moved. I'm dealing with this myself because a lot of property owners call me and they're saying that they're leaving the residue behind of the car washes, I guess, whatever they clean out of the cars. So I've been able to get folks moved, but they can't really get a fine. But again, we can get better clarification from the city agency and DEP on what is in violation here. And I mean, look, we have council members, Councilmember Sanchez, staffer Serimal is on the call too. So we can always ask for some assistance there as well. But again, I'm going to defer to the chair on this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, we'll look into all of that. Next up on the agenda, we have Deborah, who's going to be talking to us about her petition to the New York Attorney General.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I have to give you a little background. My husband and I did the definitive study of the first fire epidemic that took place in the 1970s, the so-called Bronx is burning epidemic. We analyzed how the closing of fire companies triggered off this epidemic and how so many buildings were burnt down and so many neighborhoods were devastated that the fires themselves stopped. There were no other susceptible buildings that they could be contagious to. Fires are contagious. These fires that we've been having in the Bronx have us very frightened. Not only because there's an uptick in the big fires and a horrible uptick in fatal fires, but these fires are happening in clusters, which means that the contagion is kicking in again. And this, we don't want to have to study this again and witness this again. So we have created the petition that was sent out with the agenda. You all have seen it. I'm not going to go over it. I assume whoever's interested has read it. So we're coming to various community boards. We got an endorsement by Board 9. Board 8 is considering endorsing it. We're coming to ask, number one, an endorsement for this petition. Number two, that you send it out to community groups if they want to distribute it and sign it. My email address is at the bottom of the petition, so they can get back to me when a petition is filled up and I can collect them. And finally, a very simple question for you. We want to go out into Community District 7, out on the street and get signatures. And we want to ask what the best places are where there's a lot of foot traffic and we still wouldn't block a sidewalk. Best places to get these signatures. So those are the three things that we're asking of the committee.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. Any questions from the committee for Deborah?
Eric, I didn't see it. I got the agenda and the minutes, but I didn't see it. I'll have to look for it. Maybe it was in an earlier email.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
All right, we'll make sure that gets forwarded to you guys.
Yeah, you had to click on the word petition to see it.
Okay.
It was a link.
Mm-hmm. All right.
On the agenda, it was linked to the agenda.
Right.
Oh. Can you just mention in a sentence or two what it relates to?
Okay. We have a long background section which talks about how the Bronx has been shortchanged in certain essential services, fire service, building code enforcement, tenant protection. There have been times where it was even shortchanged in sanitation compared to other boroughs. You also mentioned the fire situation and how these short changes are costing Bronx residents lives, their homes, their neighborhoods. And that's what, oh, what's happening here? That's why we, oh, there's the petition, why we are going forth, asking the State Attorney General to look into the situation of how the Bronx has been repeatedly afflicted. And the result of these short changes are these conditions in the Bronx. So we're asking the Attorney General to do three things: to conduct an investigation of what has led to the conditions in the Bronx, to require the appropriate agencies to reform policies and practices immediately that impose unsafe conditions on residents in the Bronx, such as the inadequate fire service and building code enforcement, and to establish a long-term program for reform of policies and practices that affect the Bronx disproportionately. So those are the three things we're asking for. When we go out on the street, we can get a signature every 2 minutes. People really are frightened about these fires. They're also very angry about the fact that the Bronx seems to be picked on all the time. So there's a mood out there among the streets, among the people on the street, that something is very, very wrong.
Mhm.
You know, with all due respect, I will take a look at it, and I'm sure everyone on the committee will, but, you know, it feels somewhat unsettling, you know, all the community boards in Bronx volunteers, and we do a lot of work. We're very, very involved in what goes on here, as are our police, our fire department, HPD, DOB. You know, I happen to be in building management of affordable housing, and I assure you, DOB and HPD and DEP and the other agencies are on top of what's happening in our buildings, whether it be emissions or violations. The 311 system works, is amazing. And I think a lot of what we do is right and good, and the work of each community board is. I wouldn't feel comfortable signing that. It's almost saying we're not doing our job. Our commitment to our neighborhoods is not there. I feel, you know, a little insulted, actually. And I think a lot of our community boards would feel the same. I mean, we do feel sometimes we, you know, maybe have more than our fair share of shelters. And I think every community board in the Bronx would say that, but we're really devoted group of people here. And I just I can't agree with you.
Well, let me put it this way. In 1970, the Bronx had 3 squad, this is in fire protection, 3 squad companies, 35 engine companies, and 29 ladder companies. We now have 2 squad companies, 30 engine companies, and 27 ladder companies. We lost more in the way of fire companies proportionally than any other borough. And it shows up in fire protection. The fire department cannot do the kind of inspections that they used to do in the 1960s because of this loss. We lost, there were 3 rounds in the 1970s, another round in the 1980s, and then City Island lost its ladder company in 2012. It's an erosion that's been going on for many decades, and it's showing up. First, it showed up in the first fire epidemic, and now it's showing up in these fires that are occurring now.
So are you saying it's the response time? Because, you know, many of our residents, instead of telling the super, they'll call the fire department about maybe water leaking into a light fixture. And from what I can see, they responding in record time. I've never seen a more efficient operation. So I'm just not seeing it, and I'm on.
Okay, let me
So why don't we
give you a little more education.
wait a second. I think we're, you know, maybe got sidetracked.
I'm gonna jump here, Eric.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree, but this is an item we will gladly refer to possibly. And Seriman, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you know, there's a council member that oversees a committee that handles DOB and HPD as well. There's also Councilmember Feliz, who is tasked with oversight over the Twin Parks fire as well. And maybe we can refer you there, because it seems like there isn't consensus to continue this conversation. However, I would say if individual members would like to sign up and be supportive, that is something that they can do. I'm just putting my 2 cents here. I'm going to defer to the chair on how he wants to move forward, but you know, don't want to go back and forth here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
just want a copy of the petition. So somebody send me a copy of the petition so that I can.
It's in the chat, Myrna.
Then I have to download it on the chat.
Yeah.
Jade can
But
send it
what's
to you. Myrna, Jade, do me a favor to send the link over to the full committee, please.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Right, so I think we will need a little bit more time to digest the petition. But in terms of the last item that you requested, items where we can, places where you can gather signatures, I would say maybe some James Park, near maybe Fordham Road, maybe Poe Park. These are all areas where people kind of congregate, and those will be good places to start, I would say.
Thank you very much.
Jahaira, you have a question?
I think Aisha answered it. I think is something to have a separate discussion, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that needs to be, there's a lot of questions. For me, the one question that I would have is, has there been any conversations with any experts from DOB, from the fire department, in order for, you know, to see where the study has gotten more validation from? That's where my questions would have been. But I agree that this is a separate conversation to have.
Yes. Serial?
Thank you so much for recognizing me. 2 things. In the 70s, when the Bronx was burning, it was because landlords were burning their buildings down to collect the insurance. Second thing, which is very important, with the influx and increase of buildings going up in Community Board 7 alone, we have not received an increase in the amount of firemen, police, and all other agencies. We've been getting an influx, and schools. Let's not forget the schools. They're not building those schools. So we're getting an influx of a lot of people being packed into the streets, especially on 203rd Street, 202nd Street, that will want single streets that are now being put with 400 or 500 people per building in there. And how the trucks are going to get down there is amazing what's going to happen. So I agree with this petition. Anything that can get more for the Bronx is an A+ for me. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move on. And now we have, thank you for the presentation, Deborah.
Thank you.
We're going to move on, and we have a small presentation from Daryl from the Small Business
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Darius Saldana. I work with the Bronx Chamber of Commerce. I am what's known as a small business resource specialist. I've been in one of the meetings here once before, early on when I first had started, and it seems a lot like a lot of the concerns then was plaguing us now. But I would like to say that recently I started in Jerome. As of the last month and a half, I've been on Jerome, and I've been canvassing businesses door to doors, and I've been helping them with marketing assistance, assistance in capital, financing and grants, mentorships, strategy, and legal assistance. And one of the big issues is that a lot of the businesses, because of the pandemic, they've lost out on a lot of money. They've lost out on chances of PPEs and chances on getting grants, because they go up so quick. And I'd like to mention one business in particular on Jerome. Her name is Yude Fashion, and I know she's struggled because of the pandemic, and she struggled because it's hard to keep in business because of some things you find people spoke about, like sheds out in the front and things of that nature. And we've tried to assist them with that through the resources that we have. But yeah, so that's basically what I do. My counterpart, we was able to help a business out in Broadway in the Bronx. It's called Cloudy's Kitchen. It was featured in one of our newspaper articles. Essentially, they were going under. Myself and my counterpart Julius, we went in. He had a great meeting with them. Was able to bring them back. And there's stuff like that that we're attempting to do within the Bronx and the small businesses themselves. I've probably visited over 100 of them. I've onboarded onto the program a little over 100. And it's the constant, stories that I'm obviously hear from you guys right now, that I'm also hearing from them, like the sheds and the foot traffic and the losing of the parking. Actually, I'm gonna be in Jerome and Bedford tomorrow, canvassing there and door to door to the businesses. So that's basically essentially what I do. So if you guys, I would like to put myself out there, and if you know of any businesses that may benefit from our services from the SBRN, Small Business Resource Network, I'm more than willing to set up a meeting with you guys, maybe have a walkthrough through the communities that you guys are talking about for the businesses that are hurting. And I get it from both sides of the spectrum, with the vendors and the business owners themselves. It's one of those revolving doors where it constantly changes, and it's hard to keep up with because I understand from both sides of that spectrum. People want to make money, and how do you do it? So yeah, that's my little small presentation, my little spiel. I'll drop my email down in the chat, and if you guys would like to reach out, I'm more than welcome to help in any way that I can.
Okay, thank you, Derry. Has there been any changes in policy with the new administration?
So as of right now, in terms of like the business aspect of it, things have been fluctuating, pretty quick, but I really can't attest to those things because they fluctuate so quick. I'm usually on the field just getting the businesses the help that they need. And so that's as far as I can go with that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Edgar?
Yeah, good evening. Let me ask you a question. Have you been working at all with any of the standing organizations, like the bids? Because Kingsbridge has a bid, or have you worked with the Northwest Bronx Clergy, was it County Clergy Coalition?
So
Community and Clergy Coalition.
Thank you.
So not as of yet. because what I essentially do is I make roadmaps, and I like to try to get to the gatekeepers of the bids before I actually show up on my own, because it's actually easier if, you know, I come in with a gatekeeper and they introduce me along, you know, you guys already have relationships. So for me to get in there, I usually plan everything out. So Kingsbridge is on my list as Third Avenue. I'm also working on White Plains. Just in general, I have things lined up for that.
The reason why I say that, right, is because like Northwest Bronx Clergy Coalition does kind of some of the stuff that you're talking about, or they try to help the businesses get some of those services together. And I've been in a business when they came to talk to the business owner was sitting in the business, and they basically told him, no, the business owner's not here, you know?
Yeah, I remember you told us that story that when I was
So,
first here.
Yeah, so, you know, there's so many people out there scamming, unfortunately, that these businesses are very, very cautious about releasing information about, you know.
Absolutely.
So going to these established organizations, they have some of those contacts, or if you go through them, they might get you a better reception from the actual businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
That's
that's
the only
essentially that's the goal.
Right.
You know, it's like I said, it builds communication, it bridges that gap with me and the business owner. So I'd like to hear more, you know, anything that I could do it in that area, I'm all for it.
But like I said, those are the two that I would recommend. Definitely Northwest Bronx, because they talk to the business owners. They know, like, the flower shop lady. They know, and they've dealt with them to help them with other issues that they've had there, like with the rent, with not giving them leases, not having heat. You know, they've helped them get to the landlords. So like you talk to the owner of the flower shop, she might not listen to you, but if the lady from Northwest Bronx introduces you to her, she's gonna love you. She's gonna listen to everything you got to say, because she already knows, like, you've already got somebody is approving, like, you're valid, you know. And that's the same thing I'm saying, because like I said, I've been out there and I've seen it happen, so I know it's rough for you guys to come trying to let them know that you're there to help them, because right away they're gonna think, like, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to get my account numbers? Are they trying to get, you know?
No, yeah, that's one thing that, you know, I'm always upfront. I don't need your EIN number, your vendor number, any of that. You know, and it's just good to have that sort of communication, because I don't want to scare anyone off from, you know, potential assistance. So,
but like I said, that's two. The Gun Hill bid, they're pretty good. Kingsbridge bid and Northwest Bronx Clergy Coalition will definitely. They've got a contact list because they speak to them constantly.
Thanks for that.
Okay, Jean?
Hi, a couple of things. If Mr. Saldana can put his contact information in the chat. And Eddie already brought it up that, you know, those were some very good groups that, you know, he's telling you that you can work with or speak to, because they do a lot of work in the neighborhoods and people know them individually. I don't know if you came down Jerome Avenue between Gun Hill and Mashula Parkway. There are a lot of businesses up and down that particular corridor that seem to be having issues. I see that some of those businesses have gone under. They're no longer there. Some of them are businesses that have been there for quite a long time. So these people are really hurting. They really need somebody to help them. And, you know, the Jerome Gun Hill bid is one, like Northwest Bronx Clergy Coalition, as Eddie said. All of those people that Eddie told you to reach out to, those are good organizations to help work with you, because if you just wander into these businesses and they don't know you, then they're not sometimes reluctant to do this. Years ago, Councilman Cohen put together a whole group to work with small business owners in and around the neighborhood. He invited them in. He invited also the agencies that work and they have to report back to, that they have to get licenses from. But a lot of those businesses were not able to attend because it was during business hours. Actually, it was in the evening, and some of them people were still working, you know, even though it was at night, and they were not able to attend. So it wasn't a big showing. But since the pandemic, everything is sort of like speeded up, and it's really, really destroying a lot of family-owned businesses, little mom and pops that, you know, they don't even know to go to sometime. And some of the monies that they were promised, it never materialized for them. So this is a real important feature. If you could get a handle on it and work with these other agencies, and maybe you can help these neighborhoods and help these businesses. Thanks.
Okay, Serial.
Thank you again. I'm glad you're gonna come to Jerome Avenue and Bedford Park. I beg you to go to 204th Street and Jerome Avenue and to look at the tire guy that has a 25-foot store, and he has taken up half the block. He has dribbled his space with tires. And you explain to me how he's getting away with that. There's stores there that are out of business.
But that's not what he provides, Serial. He just provides them with more.
Well, maybe he needs to provide common courtesy to these store owners, because they did a survey and it came out that 90% of the stores don't live in the neighborhoods and they don't hire from the neighborhood. And that survey was handed to this committee.
Okay. Derry, thank you for the information. We'll certainly put you in touch with Aisha, so maybe we can get a economic or commercial clinic set up to kind of get more of the neighborhood stores to have access to this.
Like, I think
this information.
It's a phenomenal program, and like I mentioned, we've been able. I myself onboarded a little over 100 businesses already. You know, just ranging from different things, marketing, even down to PPE. You know, at the height of Omicron, a lot of businesses were worried about being shut down, and you know, I was there the next day with masks, gloves, anything that they needed just to stay open. You know, because those are essential things at the time. I mean, not that they're not any more essential now, but this is essential things that kept those businesses open just a little longer, you know. And, you know, as much as I see it as I'm walking out, I have seen a lot of vacant storefronts, because it's just hard to keep up with what's going on, you know. So thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you. So our last agenda item is a request for a variance from Mega Contracting Group. Eric, same.
Hi, how's it going? I believe Jonathan Huang is also on. He's a little higher on the totem pole than me, and maybe want to start this off. And I'm here for any more specific details on the project at large.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Jonathan Huang. I'm with Mega Contracting Group, and my colleague Eric is here. Eric is our lead superintendent at the project. The project is at 2520 Jerome Avenue. And we're here tonight because we would like to ask you guys for your approval on a Saturday variance for an earlier start in the morning. I'll give you some background about our company, a little bit of background on the project, and I'll explain why we're asking for the variance. So Mega Contracting has been around for 30 years. We're a general contractor, construction manager. We focus on affordable housing. That is the bulk of our work, and we only work in the 5 boroughs of New York. Our offices are in Astoria, Queens. And a lot of our projects are in the Bronx. We've done quite a few in the recent years, and you've probably seen them around. The project that we're working on now is next to the St. James Church on Jerome Avenue. It's a project that we recently started and that we're slated to finish next summer. It's a project where we're working with a nonprofit called Concern for Independent Living. They are the the client and the owner of the building, and it's an affordable housing project. It's also a project that's that's involved with a state agency called HCR. A lot of our projects are involved with either HPD for city work or HCR for state work. And this project is going to be a 9-story building, 100 units, 94,000 square feet. And we're really looking forward to completing this one on time. And part of that is being able to work a full Saturday workday. Standard permit hours that DOB provides us with are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Saturday, which really just doesn't allow for a full day worth of work. As you might imagine, on a Saturday, most workers want to leave the job by 3 o'clock and get home and spend the rest of their weekends with their families. And starting at 10 o'clock really just doesn't give enough productivity for the day. We're here to request that if we can get an 8 a.m. start, that would allow us to work the Saturdays. And by working Saturdays, our goal is to be able to finish the project a little sooner. If we're able to work 20, 30 Saturdays a year, we should be able to finish the project a month or even 2 months earlier, because that's how many work days we're gaining. We're here to answer any questions you guys might have about the project or anything about our company or about the work that we're doing. So yeah.
Charlie here, also from Mega Contracting. I apologize for joining late. I work with Eric in the field, and I also want to add that we're working next to the St. James Episcopal Church, and part of our space is dedicated to some of the work that they're doing there at St. James with their public programs that they have, whether it be feeding the area and daycares and things like that. And that's part of what we're doing here at this new project located along Jerome.
Okay, great, thanks. Can you tell us how far along are you in the project? What stage are you on?
We're currently about to complete the first floor slab. We're pretty much done with foundations as of this week, and we are going to start bringing up the superstructure of the building this month, second, third floor, etc. And then we'll be rolling into exterior work such as brick and the interior trades worth of work.
Okay, and have you had do you have all your MTA permits and all that lined up?
Yes, we have all the MTA permits and approvals. We're working hand in hand with MTA inspections divisions for approvals for any aerial equipment or anything that's near the tracks. We received letters of no impact for our hoist and our lifting equipment. We're working on approval for our scaffolding that goes around the building. We are also adjacent to Parks Department property, and we have a agreement and a working relationship with them. We communicate directly with the Bronx director of forestry there to maintain their needs and assist them with any kind of work they need done along the property line, such as replacing some fencing and updating some seating bench areas and checkerboards, as well as a shuffleboard setup.
Okay. Edgar, do you have a question?
Yeah, one of the questions you just questioned about the what stage they were at, and it was going to inquire about what type of work was going to be doing. Because we've had situations where people have come when the buildings were a little further along, where there was a lot of finishing work being done inside, where there wouldn't be a really noise impact for the neighborhood. So doing a Saturday work permit wouldn't impact people getting woken up early, but being the fact that you're still doing a lot of the outside work, which is the work that most disturbs those that live nearby across the street, and that's going to impact that whole area on Creston Avenue. going back and the side street by the new building they built there also. Have you guys contacted at all any of the apartment buildings that you'll be impacting?
Yeah, so it should be noted that to the north of us is the parks, which that building is now damaged from Hurricane Ida and is vacant. To our east is Monroe College, and to our south is St. James. So we have just one apartment complex to the east. And honestly, from working in the field, the loudest thing in the area is the overhead train coming by. But we can get letters from the apartment complex the side if that helps push things along.
Yeah, because basically, understand that there's a park to the north of you, but there's nothing impacting between you and the buildings all along Creston Avenue, which is along the edge of that park. So that's going to directly impact them also, even though they're not directly next to you, but there's nothing between you guys and them.
Understood. And with foundations being completed, the heavy machinery is starting to get rolled out. And the primary focus would be to be able to work the interior guys, which seem maybe not so much of a concern, but the exterior work, maybe such as the brick, which would be the concern there. And that's something that we wanted to see if we could discuss with you about tonight, because with the warm weather coming, it would really be a good push for the project. So if there's something you'd like us to do, we'd be more than happy to reach out to our neighbors and discuss with them.
Okay.
Eric, I have a comment. Sandra?
Yes, go ahead, Sandra.
First of all, our committee knows the project very well. We put a lot of time and effort into this project, and we're really most excited about the preservation work for this landmark building and the some adjustments that you made to accommodate the committee's comments and concerns. So if you were to start, I also was going to ask about the noise, but if you were to start at 8, would you end at 4? Is it 8 to 6 then you're asking for, or would you consider a 9 to 6, or are you flexible at all on that?
We're absolutely flexible. The preference would be an earlier start, and we would, if we started at 8, we'd probably finish at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we wouldn't need to work past 4 on the Saturdays.
And you mentioned 20 Saturdays, so say that would be not quite half a year, so just like through the fall, basically?
It would be from, that would be the, if we were able to start in the spring now, it would bring us to approximately the fall, and then at that point, we would probably transition primarily to interior work, and then the noise will be drastically reduced.
So anything going on at the church now? I know they have some, like a rec hall or something, and if you're there, I guess the church is working with you, but do they have programs on Saturdays that, what's happening with, is there nothing going on in the church on Saturdays?
So I could check in with Father Matt and find out what the schedule is or the programs they have going on. But currently, the church is undergoing renovations as well, to bring it up to some modern standards, safety-wise and heating efficiencies, and restoring facades. So I don't believe that there's really anything taking place on site at the church at this moment.
Right now, the church is gutted from cellar to their top floor. There's so if it's happening, it's not inside the church.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Edgar, you have another question, or?
No, I thought I lowered my hand. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serial?
As the only community personnel that is not on the board and has family in that area, you mentioned that you've been doing work in the city for years. So when you took on this project, you knew that there was a 10 o'clock start on a Saturday. And the communities of the Bronx fought hard and long to get the rules changed that you can start at 10 o'clock and not 8 o'clock on a Saturday. Okay, we got a college over there that has classes that early. We got the park over there. When you signed up for this project, you knew the rules and regulations that a 10 o'clock stop was on a Saturday. And I don't see why the city and the Bronx and that neighborhood has to give up its rights so you to have your people go home early. I don't think that's fair and that's not right. Okay, we fought very hard to get those rules. And the second thing I want to clear to you is that forestry is not representative of the Bronx of New York. Okay, forestry has a backlist of 4,000 trees to be cut, and they do not represent the Bronx or the parks. So when you think you're in bed with forestry, they don't represent the park over there. All right, recreation represents it. Thank you.
You lower your voice just a little bit. It's very loud. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Any other questions from the committee?
I just want, I guess, if you could answer, what would that reduce the project in time if you came into work on the weekends? I think that would help serve some clarity on expediting the project.
Approximately 2 months.
And what is your current construction time?
We anticipate with Saturdays a June, July 2023. With Saturdays, you take 2 months off that.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so if we can get a vote from the committee about this?
What is the proposal, Chair? What is?
The proposal is to allow the variance from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays.
I would prefer to see a 9 to 4, something like that. I think 8 o'clock is too early, even if, I just think it's a little too early. I like
Thank you, Sandra.
I second what Sandra said. I think that's fair.
Okay, so I think that's a fair time as well. Are you guys okay with that, Mega?
Okay. Can you repeat the motion then?
So we would allow the variance for work on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Language should read, Community Board 7 supports. Remember, we're not an approving body.
Right. Community supports the variance for Saturday work at 2520 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Eric, Eric has a question from Mega.
Yeah, if it's all the same, at that point, a 9 to 5, just to have it if we need it, just to keep the similar hours as opposed to reducing what we already have approved from 10 to 6.
Yeah, that was kind of my comment. Basically, we should be changing the start time. The end time, it should be controlled by the variance, because the original, by the original work order from DOB, because the original work order from DOB works from 10 o'clock to 6 p.m. So we just want to work on changing the start time back to 9 a.m. What their end time is, that should completely be on them.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
So therefore, the Community Board 7 supports the variance for the early start of 9 a.m. at 2520 Jerome Avenue.
And to 5, though, 9 to 5.
You have to write the whole thing, yes.
Yeah.
That's not how DOB takes it. They want to see the whole slide.
Okay, so Community Board 7 supports the variance for an early for 2520 Jerome Avenue for Saturday work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sounds good?
I think it sounds. And for the church too. I mean, to have the project done sooner and have financial support for the church, I think is a big motivating factor here.
Yes, so
just the one question just for clarification. Mega, at this point, what does your permit say as far as your operating hours on a Saturday?
It's 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. Sorry, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
All right, so let me just ask, would it work for you, or would it be more favorable if we just do it from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. so you still keep the 6 p.m. end time?
Yes, that's fine. And I should note that I don't anticipate ever really going that late. It's very rare that we would need such a thing.
Mm-hmm. Especially Saturdays.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, Edgar. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm more comfortable with the 9 to 5. I think that's fair. By 5 o'clock, I think people don't want to hear any more noise, even if they're enjoying the park on a nice sunny evening. You know, I think 9 to 5 is more than fair. I don't know if anyone agrees with me.
Keep in mind there's a motion on the table, so you would have to rephrase if that's where everybody agrees with.
Right, the motion is 9 to 5 right now, correct?
Yep.
So can we get a motion on the 9 to 5? A second?
I'll make some motion, Sandra.
Great, thank you, Sandra. Do I need to state the motion again? No, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Community Board 7 supports the variance for work at 2520 Jerome Avenue from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
On Saturdays.
On Saturdays. I'm gonna vote yes. Myrna, how do you vote?
I'm unmuting myself. Yes.
Sandra?
Sandra Erickson votes yes.
Mabubu?
Mabubu vote yes.
Thank you. Edgar?
Edgar Ramos agrees with the modification.
Thank you. Barbara?
Barbara Stranza votes yes.
Okay, thank you. So Aisha will send the letter to DOB. Guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you for.
And we hope to have you back as you get further along the project to keep us updated.
And take
Absolutely.
of our church, our landmark. Take good care.
Absolutely. I can't afford that bill.
Yes.
I'll be in touch.
Great. So I have nothing else
Good night, Harold.
for this evening. So if you want to adjourn, motion to adjourn.
I have one thing I'd like to bring up, Eric.
Sure, go ahead, Barbara.
We may have mentioned it in the past. Can we in some way get in touch, either letter or have the staff call our new city council people? And we have 3, 2 of which are new and 1 is fairly new, regarding sending any developers who come to them for an approval for city or state money or whatever, to come before the community board.
Right now, there are no pending Article 11s.
Okay, but the problem is I have 3 buildings under construction, which are fairly close to where I live. I'm not going to give you the addresses now, but I have them if you need them. And all 3 of them, none of them came to this board. So I don't know whether it's affordable, supportive,
market rate,
whatever, or market rate, exactly. And I'm just wondering, I realize the council people are new because Councilman Cohn used to always send them before the board. And is there some way we can communicate?
So first, you would have to send me the addresses. I usually reach out to Ted and ask these questions if they are subsidized, and I check in with the state. If they're Article 11s, I have had the conversations already with Eric, Bettina, and Oswald, that if they do come to them to please, that it's been good practice to communicate with us. So that conversation has already taken place. You initially requested that in September, and that's the first thing I did when everyone took office.
Okay.
Just because their building's going up, it doesn't mean that everything is supportive. It doesn't mean that everything is subsidized. So you can also help yourself by going to the Department of Buildings website and looking up these things, or sending me an email with the address you're concerned about, and I'd be more than happy to send this over to folks in both HPD and the state. But just know that if they are receiving any subsidy outside of an Article 11, they do have to come to the board. And Ted, you can chime in to correct me on this. And the same thing happens with the state. It's always common practice for them to defer to the community board outside of the Article 11 that Cohen already started a trend on.
And if I may, I just raise my hand to say that as a matter of policy, that any developer, any development project that uses our construction subsidy funding, we do require them to contact the community board, and if you want them to come, to have them come. Now, some of the tax incentive programs, because some of the projects that are built have private financing or even state financing and use an HPD and tax incentive, they may require a notification, maybe not an actual appearance. But if they're actually using it, I'd be interested in hearing the addresses myself of the buildings that Barbara's mentioning. So if they are using HPD funding, then hopefully they would have come.
Okay, I can put it in the chat, the 3 addresses. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you also send it to us via email? I mean, this has been done in the past. Ted, you and I have
Yep.
I'm sorry about that. We've been in constant communication, Ted and I. Whenever something is brought up, Ted, you get those emails from me like, hey, Ted, is this subsidized? So just want to make sure that, we streamline that line of communication, that if any board members have concerns, then let's not assume that everything is subsidized. Let's just learn to kind of send our emails out. The council members are aware.
I'm not saying concerned about subsidized. I just like to know what's going up. If it's right next door to where you live, you're curious.
Right. And this is something we talked about last year as well, where if you go to the Department of Buildings website and you put in the address, you can find out more or less who the owner is, what kind of applications are being put in.
I got it through YIMBY, but it didn't say what type of housing.
But again, trying to help, right? It's to enable communities to learn more on how to help themselves. It's always good to go to the Department of Buildings website, and there you can find detailed things too as well. So this is not just for board members, but like if you wanted to share this with community residents that also want to learn to empower themselves and how to investigate, that's a good way.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you. It's in the chat if anybody would like to check the 3 addresses. Thank you, Ted.
It's not in the chat, Barbara.
Oh, geez.
Do you want to just email them?
What do I have to hit?
You may have accidentally maybe sent it to the last person that sent the message.
Yes.
Well, Barbara, why don't you just email them?
Okay, very good. 320 it is, 390, both East Marshall Parkway South. And then the third is 241 East 22nd Street.
Email them.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
One of them is on demolition, right, Barbara?
1 demolition and the other 2 construction.
Yeah. Jean, you have a comment?
No, just a question for Aisha. Aisha, who is the head of Department of Buildings now? Who is our liaison person over there?
Ulysses Jarrett, he's our intergov person, but to be honest, there's so many changes that are going on in these agencies. I'm not sure if there's going to be transition there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like the only thing. There've been some changes with agencies. I mean, I know that, you know, it takes a few months for like the mayor to make those transitions. They may very well keep the same people. I just don't want to tell you that that's permanent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully when that happens, they will come to the committee as well.
I invite them every month, and unless you're specific about an item, DOB will not be in attendance.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest. I mean, so I'm just smiling. You know, this is true. Unless you have specific items, it's very hard to get DOB to respond to things.
Yes. All right. If there's anything else for anybody?
Meeting is April 11th, okay?
Yes, the next meeting will be April 11th. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Okay, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Sandra. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank
Yeah.
you.